Yeah, so this is some news that was pretty big in the SoFi world. The Weeknd is objectively the biggest artist in the world right now, averaging more than 100 million streams a month on Spotify. The first artist in the world to do this. I think 3 or 4 of his songs hit a billion streams over the past couple of months. And he just put out an HBO Max special called Live at SoFi Stadium, which is cool. It's on HBO Max. But what he also did yesterday was put out an album called Live at SoFi Stadium. And I think albums are a little bit more timeless than specials on a streaming service. And so I just want to, bring it to the panel. What do we think about the biggest artist in the world putting out an album that has the name SoFi ingrained in the album, even if, it's going to get hundreds of millions of streams, even if 0.0001% of those people just Google what is SoFi because they're curious because they see it on the Weeknd's album. I mean, Anthony Noto paid $625 million for I think 20 years for this, but he didn't pay for the Weeknd to literally put his company's name on an album that might be timeless one day. So what do we think about that from a marketing perspective?
He literally is the largest artist in the world in terms of Spotify. Right now, he has 60 million people that follow his channel and 102 plus million monthly listeners as the number one artist in the world. And so they all got a notification, those 60 million of them saying, hey, SoFi's new album is out, the Weeknd's new album is out live at SoFi Stadium. Now, does that translate into 60 million views for, SoFi? No. Is it true that the average person needs to see one advertisement 7 times before they click through onto it? So it does help that, it's just our name on something else that is absolutely massive. And this is an absolute
SoFi Stadium. That's amazing.
Goliath, you know what I mean? Of a it's becoming the new Madison Square Garden. Like it's an honor to go and perform there. And it's true, as you would name an entire album after the biggest show that he's ever put on.
Yeah, maybe I can just share some thoughts. I think this was really interesting. The first time that I met you tweeted about it, and I think you definitely have a point in terms of your tweet. I think there's 2 things we should look at. Number one is the, let's say, depth, and number 2 is, let's say, the longevity. Right now, it's making a big boom because of where he is in his career right now, the Weeknd, and so that's obviously fantastic from a marketing perspective for SoFi because it's going to be on the tip of the tongue of everybody that listens to that album. I would say from a longevity perspective, live albums generally
aren't as good
as studio albums, but it'll all really depend in my mind from a longevity perspective on what are the tracks on that album and if one of them can be one of the iconic Weeknd tracks in the future. Because keep in mind, Abbey Road is what the Beatles' second or third biggest album ever, and then that's named after the recording studio. So these kinds of things, they really depend on how good that album is and what the tracks are and how long those tracks stick.
Yeah, I want to highlight this comment by Jermaine. He says, we have the Super Bowl and NCAA National Championship there, and it didn't do much for the stock. It's not supposed to do anything for the stock. It's supposed to create massive levels of brand awareness that get more and more people to know about the stock. The stock's not going to, or just about the company, SoFi. Those people are not going to invest in it. Most of them are not investors, but they will potentially sign up if they see that SoFi has an APY.
It's like insurance commercials. A lot of insurance commercials will advertise to you not on the base. Hey, Chris, just to finish my thought though, the commercials don't or insurance commercials like Geico, Progressive, and Liberty Mutual. They all advertise not because they think you're going to buy their insurance, but because whenever you need insurance one day, they want their company to be top of mind. So you go to their website first. And
bro,
so
you were so far off. You're recording over here.
Oh, me?
Riley, a little bit to the center, bro.
Well, you guys squared me. Now.
Yeah, we did.
Y'all did all this geometry stuff to my camera.
Do you guys remember, from an event
my fault for joining?
It's absolutely insane, right? Okay, the album and how long that lasts and all that. Chris, I'd love to get your thoughts as well on this. But from a singular event perspective, there's been some insane events at SoFi. Do you remember the pandemonia that happened over the Taylor Swift concert where tickets were going for 5 digits for a single concert? That was at SoFi Stadium, So there's a lot of, events, major events But here's the thing. I think Tannor brought up the best point where I don't know how much of that will translate. Like SoFi, the brand, it's like watching Red Bull events. That doesn't make you want to go and buy Red. It's just like the brand is always.
Nah, it
I don't
definitely
know.
makes you want to get some wings, bro. Like,
I've been getting wings. I mean,
Chris, what do you think about SoFi and the live stadium and the album?
I mean, I think it's good for brand awareness more than anything else. I don't know. Like after you sent that tweet, I looked at it. So like of like the top 5 biggest artists in the world. So BTS had a concert there. Taylor Swift is having a concert there. The Weeknd had a concert there. And Bad Bunny, who again in Latin circles, he's like one of the most streamed persons in the world too. So he's like one of the top. The only one who hasn't is Drake that I know of. But like I don't know, I think it's good for brand awareness. I do think that it's becoming kind of a go-to place. I think that it was good. I think it was good marketing, but I don't have the numbers, right? Like, and so it's really hard for me to speak to that. But the people who do, I mean, internally, whenever they talk about it, they say it's their best, price per impression advertising they get. So I'm inclined to believe them, but I don't really have I think it was probably a good deal just based on what I've heard, but I don't really have a strong opinion one way or the other.
I had a conversation with my boss who doesn't know the SoFi stock, the app, or banking, or what SoFi does at all. But I asked him, "Do you know what SoFi is?" And he said, "Oh yeah, the stadium." And it's just that just got me thinking in my mind. Oh, there's a lot of conversations with the word SoFi in it that have nothing to do with our company, and it's just going to be ingrained in people's mind. And whenever we start actually taking market share, it's gonna. I think that's going to be like a synergy that's going to really, really help when we really start seeing growth because our app becomes really good or the AW's model works out really well. Or
I think that's perfectly fine that people think it's a stadium. I think it's whenever they actually are cross-sold into the bank that it's a trusted brand that they know that it's because they had a great experience there. Almost like, do we know that Mr. Beast back in 2018 or something was like going to make food? No, he wasn't synonymous with food, but then Beast Burger comes out and then you go, oh my God, I love that guy. I trust that guy. I'm going to try that burger. And now, it's just, they're completely separate, but that name is reappearing and so it gets you to buy the product.